Hey folks, this is Justin from Books, Bricks, and Boards, back again to talk about some board gaming goodness and also some bad experiences in board gaming. You see, I have a long history with the game that I'm going to talk about today. Pathfinder, the adventure card game. I actually first bought this whenever it initially released at Gen Con. I believe it was in 2013. I was extremely excited about the game. You see, it came at the end of a 5-year role-playing group that had just disbanded that I had been running games for, and I was into war games at the time. That group wasn't playing any RPGs, but I still had that RPG itch, but I didn't want to run a game myself. And I thought, wow, here is an opportunity to have the role-playing experience without me having to run the game. And I was a fan of the Pathfinder universe. As you notice on my shelf, I still have many Pathfinder books, both first and second edition. I ran first edition Pathfinder games. Now I ran second edition Pathfinder games. And I'm just a big fan in general of Paizo as a company. And I was then too. At that time, Pathfinder was really doing well in the market against 4th edition, and so it had a lot of buzz whenever the card game was coming out. So I felt like it was going to be the answer to all my questions, and I got into it. And of course, when it initially released, I believe the only things that were available for it were the character add-on deck and playmats for the individual classes, which I eagerly bought at Gen Con. And I guess they had a big mat for the whole game too. It was like a big circular thing to hold all your locations. I eagerly bought all that. I think at that point I was over $100 in, and I basically had a very limited selection of adventures, and I was going to have to wait months and months for the adventure path to be completed. So I played it with one of my wargaming buddies. I wasn't really comfortable playing it solo, so we played it a couple of sessions after our War Machine games would get over. And what we found was that because it was a card flipper and a dice roller, there was a lot of randomness. While there were a lot of choices to be made, the resource management in it was not what we were used to in the precision of a war game. And the trade-off was supposed to be that you would get the experience of role-playing, but unfortunately, at that time, the Pathfinder Adventure card game really didn't have much of a story to it. You could kind of weave a narrative through the cards that you flipped, but you were really stretching most times. So we played it for maybe 5 or 6 sessions, got tired of it, and I decided that maybe it was just because I didn't have enough content.
You must be kicking yourself for not walking out when you could. Bad judgment.
Well, from my experience, whenever you have a game that you don't like and you want to justify that you will like it if you only had more of it, you're going down a very dangerous rabbit hole. And that is what happened to me with the initial run of the Pathfinder Adventure card game. I ended up buying all of the character decks for the first 2 or 3 years that were released. I had the Skull and Shackles set and all the expansions and all the missions. I had Wrath of the Righteous, all the expansions and all the missions. And every time I would get ready to play these games, it still felt disjointed, and it still felt like all of the same problems that I had with it were still there. So basically all that changed was I owned more of a system that I wasn't really content with. So that brings us to now. And I hear that the card game has been put on an indefinite hiatus. In all likelihood, it's probably not going to continue to be produced. And I hadn't even realized that they had released a second edition of the card game, being the core set. And I started reading about this second edition, and you know, between my ever-changing taste in games and some of the changes that they made to the basic layout, design, and system, I really wanted to give it an honest try. And what I have found out is that they may have pulled off the near impossible. I think that in its death throes, the Pathfinder adventure card game has come across a sweet spot where it actually is the game in many ways that I was looking for back in 2013. And with my taste in gaming changing, it's even better now for me. So today, I am going to play the first adventure in the Dragon's Demand, scenario A. So if you don't want any spoilers about this adventure path that comes in the core set, don't watch the rest of the video. But I can say this, that in the very limited space of card flipping, dice chucking RPG experiences, the Pathfinder Adventure card game core set and its Curse of the Crimson Throne expansion is the best around.
Hey, Bat Dad. I didn't hear no bell.
All right, for a little bit of narrative, the scenario 1A is called Plans Gone Wrong. On the plus side, it's Caravan Master Silas Gribb and not you who is imprisoned in the Bellum garrison this evening. You were guarding a routine run from western Taldor through the Verduran forest. As you sighted the town of Bellum, an explosion leveled a prominent spire called the Witch Tower, panicking your horses and allowing dire wolves to attack your disrupted caravan. Master Gribb aimed to convince the Bellum Town Council that you brought on his misfortunes, freeing him of the obligation to pay for your services. At first, the plainly overmatched Deputy Hod believed the bellicose caravaner and tossed you in a cell. At the last hour, the local baroness, Lady Organa Devi, made a skillful dismantling of Gribb's arguments. It became clear that Gribb never intended to pay you at all, looking only for an excuse to sabotage his own convoy for the benefit of his smuggling activities. The lady quickly saw to the caravan master's imprisonment. I want to apologize on behalf of Bellum for all you have suffered today, she says as you dine with her at the Wise Piper Inn. As you have seen, we have suffered as well. Our monument, the Witch Tower, lies in ruins. The town is awash with rumors that kobolds lie dead within. A shocking development, given they usually stay far from our well-defended homes. Worse still, we cannot reach our local eccentric, the wizard, Balthus Hunkley. He lives in the hillside manor. He claimed the witch tower blocked the view from his observatory. On many a moon he requested permission to level it, permission that would never come his way. We fear he took matters into his own hands and now cannot find him. You seem a capable bunch. Would you investigate the ruins of the tower, documenting what involvement the kobolds had in its demolition? You should take care. My fool of a husband died poking around in that place some years back. I'd hate for you to follow in his path. All right, so I'm playing with one hero, and I've decided to go with Kess from the Curse of the Crimson Throne expansion. Because I'm playing with one hero, I'm only going to have two locations, and because of that, I shortened the Hourglass deck from 30 cards to 21 so that it does still have a little bit of a time crunch on me, though not much. During this encounter, this scenario, if I encounter a Bane, I can succeed at a Knowledge or Perception 5 check to evade it. And then to win, I have to close all locations. There is not a villain in this story. I have to fight Cesarak, the Kobold Champion, and Harzagapus, the Diabolical Imp. So we're going to play through this and see how it goes. And so I need to advance the hour. And I am going to start out. We'll start in the ruin, because the close condition at the ruin, let's see if I can get a hold of it. The close condition at the ruin is to summon and defeat the danger, which the danger is a collapse, and the collapse is a strength check. My strength is a D10, so that should be an easier one for me to do. The alternative would be to try the tower itself, and the tower requires a wisdom or perception check of 4 plus the scenario, which is 1. And I don't really have either of those options unless I draw the right ally. This would be a good time to talk about why I chose Kess. One of the reasons that I chose Kess, whenever you're building a character in the Pathfinder Adventure card game, they have this deck list, and that's how many of each of those types of cards that you get to choose to build your initial deck. And as you gain cards, you have to maintain that layout for the types of cards in your deck. And because I decided I was going to play this Dragon's Demand path as a solo hero, I decided I wanted one that would have lots of allies, so those allies could cover all of the weaknesses that I would have. And that's what I tried to do when I was building Kess's deck. So, I'm going to use my free Explore, and I have found a Luckstone, and it is a survival or wisdom 6 check. I do need to draw my hand. She's got a hand of 5. And so, and I have gotten kind of lucky here. I got an Acolyte, and her preferred card type is Ally. So I needed to draw at least one ally for my opening hand to be valid. But I do have an Acolyte, which adds to Wisdom and Divine checks. So I could use that, which would add a D4, which would give me 2D4 to try to grab the Luck Stone. I don't know that it is going to be all that great for me. It just adds 1, but it adds 1 to anything, but at the cost of a card from my hand. It recharges, so it doesn't go away. It's not a discard. Well, let's go ahead and try it. So I am going to recharge my Acolyte to add a D4 to a Wisdom roll. And so that gives me 2d4. So I still don't have a great chance of hitting this, but I'm going to try. I got a 5, so still did not get it. So that's going to go ahead and be banished. The good thing is I didn't really lose a card because I recharged her. So now I have choices. I have this card that I really like. It's called the Harrower. And it reminds me a lot of some of the aspects of Brainstorm from Magic, or Jace the Mind Sculptor, if you're familiar with Magic. But you don't get the whole bit. You don't get to draw a card. But not even losing a card, just swapping it for a different card in my deck, I can recharge to examine the top 3 cards of any character's deck and return them in any order. So I'm going to do that. Recharge means put it on the bottom of your deck. So 1, 2, and 3. So I've got a guide on a local check to close or to guard, recharge to add a d6. I have an Orazon, which is like a minor prayer. On a local check, discard to bless. That's adding a die. If the hours level is 0, which it is now, you can recharge it instead of discarding it, which I like. And Bracers of Protection, which help me absorb combat damage. But there's only one monster, because I'm playing the short version. There's only one monster in each of these locations, and then there's also a henchman in each. So I'm not going to be running into a ton of combat, and if I beat the monster, which I should, then I will end up healing one when I defeat it. So that's not going to be quite as important to me, nor is the guide right now, honestly. So I'm going to put the Orazon at the top. So now I have the choice. I can discard my Troubadour to get an extra Explore, or I could discard my Prayer to get an extra Explore. I don't think I'm going to need a lot of Charisma or Diplomacy in this adventure, so I'm going to discard my Troubadour to get an extra Explore. And, as luck would have it, I just got the Storybane, which is a Kobold Champion, which is 10 plus number sign. That is actually the scenario number. So scenario number is a 1, so it's an 11, 12. Before acting, succeed at an Intelligence, Craft, Disable, or Perception 4+, or suffer 1d4 poison damage. Yeah, that's not fun. That's really going to hurt, actually. So, Perception 4 +1, so it's a Perception 5. I don't have Craft, I don't have Disable. I can't use my crowbar for that. So, that kind of stinks. So there's no way for me to hit that 5. So before combat starts, I'm going to take, I guess it's a D4. I might not lose both my cards. Nope, I took 4 damage, which it's limited to the number of cards in your hand, which is one reason why it's sometimes actually better that you have a small hand size, because that limits how much damage you could possibly take in a turn. So I took my damage. Now I'm ready for combat. So, I have a D10 plus 3. Anytime I don't use a weapon, I add a D8 to that. If I had an ally and I didn't play a weapon, I could recharge that ally to add another D4 to that. But I don't have that right now. So I'm going to have a D8 and a D10 plus 3. So an average roll on this would be a 12, which is what I need. So I'm really about a 50-50 here. Okay, I just crushed those probability charts. I got a 10 and an 8, so I got the maximum possible. So I beat the Kobold champion, and that means that I get to automatically attempt to close the location, which is going to make this probably a short game. And it also means I get to heal a card from my discard. So, with my heal, I get a random card from my discard pile. And then I shuffle it into my deck. Okay. Kobold champion is defeated. And I summon the collapse. Apparently these ruins have collapsed after I defeated the Kobold champion Cesarak. So as the ruins are collapsing around me, I have to either make a dexterity, wisdom. Ooh, this was not what I thought it was to beat it. I thought it was strength. I was looking down here. Dexterity, wisdom of 8 plus 1 is 9, or acrobatics, perception of 6 plus 1 is 7. So, the only one of those skills that I have is acrobatics. So I need to roll a 6 or better. So I have just shy of a 70% chance to fail this. I have to roll a 6 or better on a D. Oh, no, wait. This was worse than I thought. No, I'm sorry. I have an 84% chance to fail this. I have a D6 plus 1. So here we go. Here's my 16.67% chance to defeat the collapse with my acrobatics. And I failed. If undefeated, suffer 1d4 combat damage, which I have no cards, so I'm good there. Then succeed at a strength 5 plus, or suffer the scourge entangled. Okay. So I need to make a strength check, which is a D10 for me. And I need to roll a 6. And I got a 5. So I now suffer the scourge entangled. There we go. So normally you would use some of these fancy tokens, and then you would put it on your character sheet, the same type of token, so you'd know that you're entangled. Since it is just one hero and me playing, I'm just going to place the card out here. So I cannot evade or move, and I can't get rid of this until the location is closed, and I can't close the location until I actually defeat the danger. I can't summon it again until I work my way through the rest of the cards. Now the good news is this is only turn 1, so I still have lots of time on the Blessings deck. I probably shouldn't have rushed it the way I did, but it is what it is. So I'm going to draw my new 5 cards. Thieves' Tools. That would be good against a barrier. Crowbar. Armored Coat. Spiked Gauntlet. And a leather armor. So those are my cards that I'll have available to me for the next round. Just looking here. This is an Obstacle Bane, not a barrier, so I cannot use the Crowbar. And I cannot use the Thieves' Tools. So, I'm going to need to figure out a way to get some blessings or some allies to help me with that situation. So, next turn, there is the blessing for the turn. I am going to draw, which is explore, and Wisdom Divine of 12 to acquire that. There is no chance that I'm doing that. So we're just going to say I didn't get that one. I have no way to move again. I'm entangled, so I can't move from this location. I cannot explore again because I don't have anything to help me explore. Now that I know these aren't going to help me with my barrier here, I almost want to. No, I've got time. I'm gonna hold off. You can choose to discard cards at the end of your turn, and sometimes that's a good idea because it can get you to cards that you need to be able to defeat something like that. But I think I've got enough time. I need to play the slow game a little bit. So next turn, there's the blessing for the turn, the hour. I'm going to go ahead and explore. And it's a dog slicer. So the dog slicer requires a melee check of 7. I've got a melee of D10 plus 3, so I need to get a 4 better. So I've got a 60% chance on this. And I get the dog slicer. The thing with that is it adds a D6, and if I don't use a weapon, I add a D8 because Kess is a brawler, which is kind of like a more combat-focused monk. So, won't be using the dog slicer. At the end of the turn, if you have more cards than you have hand size, you will discard any extras. I'm going to choose to discard the dog slicer. I'm not going to discard any extras yet because I've got plenty of time. So, next turn, I'm going to explore. There's a barrier. Okay, well, diplomacy or survival. Again, this is a no-win. My troubadour could have helped me with diplomacy. My prayer would have helped with anything, really. And if I don't defeat it, I will be dazed. What does dazed do? Okay, so dazed is not that bad to me because it basically is going to make me lose 1 turn, and right now I still have plenty of time. So I'm going to automatically fail at this. And then the next turn, I can't explore because I'm dazed. And then it goes away. So then another turn ticks off of the hourglass. As Galarian turns. Okay. Now this is what Kess is good at. Combat. Unfortunately, this seems to be a monster that they want you to sneak past because your perception is only a 6 to do, but combat is a 13. Significant difference there. If proficient with armors, add 1 to the combat check. Well, I'm not. Damage is increased by a d4, so you don't want to get hit by this thing. One thing I did get that is a bonus here. So I've got my spiked gauntlet, and I can add 1 damage in melee and piercing traits to my attack, and I can reload it to add a d4 damage. So I'm going to do that. So that's a d10 plus a d8 because I'm not using a weapon. The gauntlet's not a weapon. And then a d4 for the gauntlet. And then I'm going to add 3 to whatever I roll, and I need to get a 13. Okay, so I got a 10, 16, 20. I've been rolling really well for combat. So I actually got a 23 with my bonus. 24, actually. So I just destroyed this. So the cave lizard has been defeated. And it's a good thing because when a monster's undefeated, you summon an extra monster to the location. So I just crushed him, which is going to be good because I'm going to heal now. Maybe I'll get that blessing back there. The other thing is, it gets my gauntlet probably off the top of my deck because I'm going to have to shuffle because I've healed. So even though I reloaded the gauntlet, it doesn't necessarily mean that's what I'm drawing because I could really use blessing or something to help me to get past that collapse. Okay, I have no way to explore again, so I'm going to draw up my new hand. I got a guide. Okay, so on a local check to close or to guard, add a d6. Okay, so, and I think I know this has got to be a barrier. I think I know that doesn't make any sense. I'm pretty sure this has got to be a barrier. Because I believe I've hit a weapon, a spell, an item, and a monster. So I think this is a barrier. And I've also hit the henchman. And I've got the crowbar and the thieves' tools, so hopefully that can help me get past the barrier. And it is a barrier. It requires a craft or disable. Okay, so the thieves' tool will help me with disable. Revealed at D8, recharged to add an extra D8. Okay. So I am going to reveal to add a D8 to my disable check. Then I'm going to recharge to add an extra D8 to my disable check. And then I get a D4 because I'm not trained in disable. And I need to get a 7 on this. Shouldn't be hard with these 3 dice, but worse things have happened. Oh yeah, I got 12, so definitely got it. Okay. So I beat the barrier, which means there are no cards left here, which means I can once again attempt to close this location. If I close it, I get rid of the entangled condition, and all is well with the world. So, and I think I forgot, I'm going to put that out because I think I forgot to pull one this turn. Okay, so I am going to use my guide. I have to beat the collapse Storybane. And so I can do a d6 plus a d6 plus 1 and needing a 7. So I need to roll almost average to hit this, so I probably have like maybe a 60% chance on this. Hey, I got it. All right. It was going to be bad news bears if I did not get that closed. Okay, so we close that location. It's done. And then, end of turn. And this was recharged, so that was one of the reasons I chose that ally. So then I need to draw up to my hand size. Got all my armors. Wow. I think that's literally all my armors. I think I only have 3. Got a blessing, so that's cool. Next turn, draw hour off the hourglass. And we'll put this over here now. I moved. Entangled is gone. And the star knife. Okay. Again, something I probably am not going to use, but I'll try to grab it. I got a 9. Yeah, no, actually I got an 11 because it's melee. All right, so I got a star knife. I'm going to hold on to my Orizon because I'm going to need that to close this guy here. So I'm not going to keep trying to search here. So I need to choose something to discard. Going to be the star knife. Next turn, the keep is my blessing. And I'm going to search. And my intelligence is a D6, so technically I could get this. We'll see. And I got a 1, so I definitely didn't. That's okay, because I couldn't, after I used it, it would go away anyway. Would have been nice maybe if I run into a barrier that is a diplomacy. Barriers in this game don't mean necessarily traps. They could just be a person that's in your way that you have to talk into doing what you need them to do. Oh, I needed to run this forward, sorry. And there's a barrier, and it is a diplomacy barrier, so it is exactly what I just mentioned. So it takes a 6 or better. Surprisingly, Kess has a diplomacy of a D8 plus 1. My guess is that's just her force of personality, being that she is such a capable fighter and probably portrays that confidence quite well. If he goes undefeated, suffer the Scourge Entangled. That won't really matter because this is my last location. And bury a random supporter displayed next to any character. I don't have any supporters right now. If defeated, draw a new ally. Ooh, that's cool. I failed. Got a 3. So if undefeated, suffer the Scourge Entangled and bury a random supporter. Okay, I don't have a random supporter. I am entangled. I'm not going to bother getting it out because this is the last place. Last location. Start the new turn. Explore. And it is a dire badger. So the dire badger is another one of these that if you have good perception skills or survival, you can get around, I guess. So it's got a combat of 11. If undefeated, shuffle this monster into a random location. Also, the tower, because you've got a good point of view, if you started your turn here, you could look at the top card of a distant location, but there are no distant locations because it's been closed. If defeated by a combat check, suffer 1d4 damage. Okay. So, I am not using a weapon, so I've got D10 plus D8. I don't have an ally to recharge. I get +3 to this. So I should just, on average, be able to beat this guy. I still have to hold on to this, even if I'm going to take some damage. I got some armor, so maybe that's okay. 10 plus 3, 13. Beat it. All right. And because I defeated a monster, I get to heal. I can see where this healing thing with her is going to be really good because both of the locations that I have in this short adventure only had one monster associated with them. And I feel like I've done quite a bit of healing between the story banes and the things. So, actually, I wonder, maybe I shouldn't have healed when I beat the henchman. I may have to look that up. I may have healed illegally when I beat the henchman. So I might have healed one too many times. I don't know if he's considered a monster bane henchman or if he's just considered a henchman. So it does say whenever you defeat a monster, heal a card. So okay, I could use my Orzon to search again, but I'm not going to. I'm going to let the hours pass. Then I'm going to search the next turn. Oh, it's got a blessing. A constitution check, which my constitution is a D8, and my fortitude is +1, so I got a D8 +1 on this check. It really adds to constitution checks. Okay. And I got it. Unfortunately, it is not one that adds to any check. It only adds to constitution checks. So I'm going to go ahead and use its second ability, which is to discard to explore. So, go ahead and explore. A Corvosan Dandy. Now this might be one that I would carry over to my next adventure because it's a level 1. You start with all level 0 cards. The Brass Dwarf is also level 1 technically, but it's not one that really fits in with what I'm trying to do. So it needs a Charisma Diplomacy check of 9, which would be the max I could possibly roll unless I wanted to use this, which I need to save to close this. So recharged at 1d6 on a Diplomacy or Charisma check. Against an Aristocrat card, you may reveal instead of recharging. Wow. That's actually a really nice card. I'm tempted. You know what? There is a ton of time left in this deck. I think I've got more blessings in there. I'm going to go ahead and try to get this thing. So I'm going to use my Orzon discard to bless. And it's not a level 0 right now, so I do have to discard it. I was hoping maybe I could recharge it. But I'm going to get 2d8 +1, and I need to get a 9. So I need to roll just a little bit below average in order. So I've got a little bit better than a 50% chance on this. Hey, and I got it. I got it. Awesome. Fantastic. Okay. So he's going to go with me in my travels, the Corvosan Dandy. So then we're going to flip to the next turn, and I'm going to search, and I guess it's got to be the Bane. Yep. And that imp's name was Horzagapus. Can't choose which parent's name you, right? We've got a combat of 10, or arcane divine of 7. Well, we know where that's going. He's immune to fire and poison. Before acting, succeeded a wisdom or perception 4 check, where this monster is undefeated. Ooh, that kind of stinks. He may be undefeated for a while. Because that's Yeah, that's going to be a D4. Wow. Hadn't thought about that. Okay. Well. And I suffer the Scourge poison if he's undefeated. Yikes. So, I'm going to go ahead and recharge an ally to add a D4. And I'm still not going to defeat him. I'm still going to get poison if I don't roll. I guess I need to roll my D4 first for my wisdom. Come on, 4. No, it's a 2. So I'm still going to be poisoned. He's still going to live, and I'm still not going to defeat him. But I wanted to not suffer any combat damage. So 12, 15, 18 I got. So I easily beat him in combat, but I didn't finish him off. So that stinks. So he's still here. I am now poisoned. Technically, I'm also entangled. After you rest, or after you reset, recharge a random card. Oh, that's going to be fun. Okay. Wow. So, that's not gonna be any fun at all, actually. And then I need a wisdom. Wow. This is also wisdom. This one's a 5. So, I'm going to need some cards. These just really aren't going to cut it. I don't think I need... I'm going to take some damage. I'm going to discard 3 cards. Which one do I want to keep, actually? Suffered damage. Bury reduced to 0. Okay, I'm going to keep this because I can use it for combat too. Let's see what we got. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So, my guide would help me close this, which would be awesome if I can beat him. But of course, I also need to worry about, I have to roll a 4 before we combat, or I'm not going to beat him anyway, and I randomly recharge a card because I'm poisoned. Let's see what I got. And I lost my guide, which is what I need to close that. Well, let's see. Hey, I need to do that. Wisdom check. Hey, I got it. Okay. So if I beat him, he will be defeated. So I can recharge an ally to add a D4. I can recharge this to re-roll a D4, a D6, or a D8, so that's good. So I'm going to have a D10, a D8, and a D4, and if I need to, I can re-roll the D8. Yeah, that should be good. And I'm going to add 3 to this. Okay, so 7, 9, 12 is enough to beat him even with that crappy roll. So I don't need to re-roll that. So I can keep this. Okay, so I beat the Diabolical Imp, and because I rolled a 4, he stays beaten. Unfortunately, now I need to roll a Wisdom check of 5 or perception check of 5, which I cannot do in my current setup, so I'm going to have to rely on getting a card to help me do that. So, to help that along, so I'm going to fail that this turn. End of turn, I'm going to take 2 more damage. I'm going to try to dig through my deck. If you run out of cards, you just die. So I am putting myself at a little bit of risk here. Okay, so after my reset, one of these goes away. I've got 2 that can help me on this next check. If I can keep both of those, I'm fairly certain I can close the tower. But if I lose one, depending on which one, it may be another uphill battle. Okay, so let's go. Recharge this. I did lose 1. I lost my blessing. Okay. So, all right. So we're going to recharge the Acolytes to add a D4. I'm going to attempt to close. That gives me 2d4, and I need to get a 5. And I got a 6. So that is the tower closed. And that leads to this development. No, kill me, the captured Kobold Ranger Sazerac shouts in her broken common. Bloodvow Chief Rogaz will kill me if you do. Okay. Anyway, you found a pair of dead kobold saboteurs near the blast site. This is enough to stoke the Belamites' fears. Before today, the kobolds kept away from the bounds of Bellam, and now its citizens are using words like invasion and treachery. Defeating a raven-shaped imp led you to another body you found in the wreckage. The wizard Balthus Hunkley lay dead between the kobolds, suggesting he conspired with them to bring the tower down. It's unlikely he planned to do so upon himself, which suggests he was betrayed by his own associates. The Baroness wants you to calm the minds of all present. I hate to ask this, but I need you to dislodge these Bloodvow kobolds from our region. You've been heroes once this week. Care for a second opportunity. So as part of defeating the first mission here, we also get a hero point, which is where this game, for me, really starts to shine. So I can keep the hero point and allow me to potentially survive a deadly encounter at another adventure, or reroll a roll that's important to me. Or I can check one of these boxes on my character sheet, which is why I've got them sleeved. To be true, I sleeve all my cards in every game. But by sleeving them, I am able to use this dry erase marker on them and keep track of what I have added to my character. So, I can add a D12 and add the magic trait for my combat check if I want to do that. That would be 1 checkbox to do that. That sounds pretty good. I guess I didn't follow my discard counting as 2 for damage earlier either. So, but that said, I am going to do that. So, from now on, instead of rolling a D10 and a D8, I'm now going to roll a D12 and a D8 plus 3. So that is going to help strengthen up my already strong combat abilities and will make Kess that much more durable for scenario number 2, or I guess scenario B, in the Dragon's Demand adventure path that comes with the Pathfinder core card game.
What? Well, I thought this was a free country!
Dad! You're the greatest.
So there you get an idea of what the new edition of the Pathfinder adventure card game has to offer. So where it really outshines its predecessor for me is in clarity on the cards. There's a lot less busyness. Some folks like keywords. I'm in that camp. It creates less clutter on the cards. The original game was more like an old school Magic around Revised Edition, where all of the rules were clearly laid out on the cards, and you had to read and read and read on these tiny little cards. I much prefer the new version of the game with the keywords, where you get used to what keywords mean, and then the cards are more open and more thoughtfully laid out. The other thing, and the bigger aspect of it for me, is the story section. I love the storybook method of delivering the adventure to you. It provides a lot more of immersion into the game and really makes you feel more like you're playing the Dragon's Demand Adventure Path, which I actually have up here for Pathfinder First Edition. And it gives you more of that role-playing experience. The last part that puts it head and shoulders above the original, in my opinion, is the sales model. So in the original, I mentioned in the start of the video, you had to buy the core set, and then you had to buy, it came with one scenario pack, and then you had to wait months for the entire scenario pack to be completed, all six, and you had to buy extra hero decks, and it just it created a hurry up and wait scenario, because if you were really into the game, you could get through that first scenario pack like that, and at that point you're waiting a month or more for the new ones to come out. Plus, you're spending $20-30 every time, and so by the time you get to the end, you're over $200 to play one adventure path, which that to me was a little steep. This core set, I'm not sure what MSRP is on it, but I know you can get it for around $50 online new, and it has a great little mini adventure path in the Dragon's Demand. You can also, for a similar amount, get the Curse of the Crimson Throne, which adds 4 new characters, and an entire full 6 scenario adventure path, which will give you hours and hours and hours of gameplay. The other part of this that the new edition adds is that it provides some random scenario generators, which are just beautiful. I think there are a couple in the Curse of the Crimson Throne, if I'm not mistaken, and then there's I think maybe 4 in the core set. So really, until you've seen all of your cards and you've explored all of your heroes, you can keep running through those random scenarios even long after you have beaten the adventure path and you have gameplay. So in those ways, I really think that this game far outshines and meets the lofty goals of the original. On the unfortunate side is that because of the difficulties with COVID causing to production and also to shipping and schedules and things of that nature, Paizo's not this huge company like Hasbro. They can't endure all of that as well, and because of that, it looks like they may be done with this game, which is unfortunate because being able to buy an entire adventure path with 4 heroes like I did with the Crimson Throne really was a nice purchase model, and I was looking forward to seeing what else they had. Now, there is still the possibility that it may move on and survive. They haven't written it off completely, but I think it would be an uphill struggle, right? Sorry, got a frog in my throat. The unfortunateness of the game potentially being over is somewhat mitigated by the fact that the community has created a huge number of unofficial but still supported by Paizo products where you can use your existing cards to create many more adventures, and you can actually still backwards compatible use your old scenarios with this. To test that out, I actually purchased the Rise of the Rune Lords Adventure Path. Amazon has bundles of them for, I think it was like $50 or $60 to get 6 expansion packs. It is a little bit tricky though, because you're not actually getting scenario 1, you're getting the hero deck expansion pack and the next 5 scenarios, because the first scenario actually came in the core set. So you can't really run through the entire thing because you're missing that first scenario pack that came in the core set. If you get on eBay, you might be able to find somebody that had an extra unopened copy of the first scenario, like I did. So I now have the full Rise of the Rune Lords set that I'm going to try to run through with the new core set at some point. I'd rather play the new material first, but I'm a big fan of Rise of the Rune Lords. I have the adventure right up here, and I would eventually like to play that again under the new rules with the new core cards that I think improve the experience. So, that being said, if you haven't yet tried the Pathfinder adventure card game, now might be a good time for you to give it a shot. It's on sale a lot of places while it's still available. And until next time, this has been Justin from Books, Bricks, and Boards. Good gaming, and God bless.